I could put more guys on the place if that's what you're thinking.
Open for business.
What you're doing to help the little guy, it's incredible.
I'm just getting started. I just need you to know that I know.
It wasn't me, Cliff.
Sounds like money. Okay, great.
There's proving and there's knowing. Is that what's going on? Is there more to this line that Bill Oakley delivered last week? Because Howard is going to be in the knowing category, as far as Jimmy being behind what Cliff is confronting him about in this teaser soon. Is it about him not being able to prove it and that making him go crazy or look like he's going crazy? There has to be something more, but it's also kind of fun that it's not obvious. Hey guys, Pete here. Today I'm going to preview Better Call Saul Season 6, Episode 5. There's a short teaser. I'm going to break that down. There's only a couple of promo photos this week, but I'll be going over some of the stuff we've seen in other teasers and how all of this ties into the previous episode. And I'll say that if any of that stuff sounds like spoilers, then this video probably isn't for you. And with that out of the way, let's just jump into it. This episode is titled Black and Blue, and the official description reads, while business booms for Jimmy, the vise tightens on the cat and mouse game between Gus and Lalo. There are several shots of Jimmy getting things together with all these newfound clients, and I think in some of these interactions we see Bob Odenkirk playing the character a lot more like Breaking Bad than what we're used to seeing in Better Call Saul. Lalo is name-checked without appearing in the trailer, but the mention of the cat and mouse game would indicate his return is imminent. Are we going to find out where he is? Are we going to see him? Or will we get something like an end-of-episode reveal? I would like to find out what he's up to, and we do have a lot of teaser footage that hasn't shown up yet, but either way in this teaser we can see that he's influencing things that other people are doing. The episode title being Black and Blue is a translation of the Breaking Bad episode that was titled Negro y Azul. That one opened with a teaser that was a narco corrido music video about a gringo boss taking over Albuquerque with his blue meth. Black hat, blue meth, and I mean, if they went that way again with a song about Gus and Lalo, I'd be into it. But overall, it's not the most eventful episode of that series. But it is the one that came right before Saul Goodman's first episode. Is that a clever nod? Does that mean the office will be open and Jimmy will be full Saul mode in the next episode? We'll have to wait and see. As we approach episode 5, one thing that's become evident is that they're trying to make the promo clips misleading. I'm still going to look at them and break them down, but it is something to keep in mind. The episode 5 trailer opens with Kim putting a chair under the door handle for a little extra security, and then we see them on the couch together, looking a little scared, and Saul says, thank God he's dead. The first thing you think of here is that he's talking about Lalo. The only problem with that is that Kim found out that Lalo probably wasn't dead in the last episode. So if she's putting a chair under the door, she's worried, but is she going to come clean with him, or are they talking about something else completely? Chuck McGill is also dead. He could be talking about him here. They could be talking about how he would never approve of what he's doing with this new office and his new practice and all these new clients, but that feels a little disconnected. There's a shot of the future super lab where construction has been halted ever since Werner went on the run. With Lalo out there, you can't imagine that they're actually starting to work on it again. And Mike tells him that he can put more guys on the place if that's what he's thinking. So you have to imagine that Gus is worried that this is going to be discovered, which wouldn't be an easy thing to do. Outside of Mike and his little circle inside Gus's operation, there's only a few people that even know that this job was going on. The Germans that worked for Werner and Lydia at Madrigal. If they're there, the question is if something happened or if they're just discussing their strategy. I'm in the camp of people who believe that he's probably looking into what was going on with the construction, the little bit that he got off Werner on the phone and where that takes him. But there's nothing here that we can point to and say, oh, okay, I see what's happening. That's how that's all connected. As a reminder, the German workers were hooded and transported there, so they never knew where the location was. Even if Lalo found them, they wouldn't know much about the details. In our live stream discussion, it seemed like some people thought that he might be headed to Chile to learn more about Gus's past, but I was under the impression that the cartel already knew about that. And then the other thing I saw was that some people thought he might be looking into what's going on at Madrigal, but I don't know what we've seen so far that would lead him in that direction. There's a popular theory that Lalo will be somehow lured to this location. He'll be killed, he'll be buried down there, and then that would change how you see all those super lab scenes in Breaking Bad. He did mention the South Wall quite a lot, and people have jumped on that thinking he might be a part of that wall before all is said and done. As far as we know, he's nowhere near Albuquerque at this point though, so let's hope we see him and figure out what's happening there. There's just one other shot of Gus working at Los Pollos, and you see him have something like a facial tic happen, which means he looks stressed and things have not cooled down since the last episode. There's just one shot of Kim where she's not with Jimmy. She meets with Viola, who was her assistant, and she took her over to Swikert and Coakley with her. They meet at the El Camino dining room, which seems to be her home base, and Viola says, "What you're doing to help the little guy, it's incredible." Kim responds that she's just getting started, and it looked like it caught her off guard. In the comments of my last video, I saw a lot of people who thought that Kim might change her mind about this plan against Howard now that people are showing interest in this pro bono practice idea that she has. Cliff was interested in what she was doing. He might even be able to help her out. But my takeaway was that she was mildly amused by that development while being fully focused on carrying out their plan. I think that's who she is. Once she sets her sights on something, she goes for it, especially since she left her cushy job. There was a time when you would think Kim might make the sound decision for the right reasons, but I think that time has passed. I think her trying to abort their plan to go after Kevin and then Jimmy turning the whole thing around on her was the last time we'll see her do something like that. I think her motivation goes deeper than just wanting to have this pro bono practice. And personally, I'd have a hard time buying her just abandoning this current path she's on. I do imagine that the idea of her having the choice to do it the right way will add weight to what I expect to be a tragic conclusion for her story. Cliff is part of the world that Howard represents. And since that probably plays a part in her decision making, would she just throw in with him? He shows up in a parking lot where he confronts Howard saying, "I just need you to know I know." Howard denies his involvement, saying it wasn't him, and the implication is that this is about Wendy being tossed out of the Namaste Mobile. This is where my misdirection sensors went off. Not to say that this is not what this conversation is about, but I do wonder how Cliff would react to Howard having a drug problem now that we know about his son's struggles. He might actually be supportive of Howard in his time of need. He might want him to get help. And the setup is pretty good because you have to feel for Howard, who has a solid alibi. He knows he didn't do this. But because of the way they set things up, it would be hard for him to get anyone to believe him. Cliff knows what he's seen with his own eyes. It's not an actual trial where Howard will be able to call his therapist as a witness. It's just a thing that's really hard to discredit alongside all the other things that Cliff already has on his radar. I mean, it was common knowledge around the yard that Howard has a coke problem. There's just one other shot of Howard's license plate as his car backs up in a hurry, which makes me think that they'll be continuing on to the next step in their plan. There's a shot of an unknown character opening up a cabinet that's filled with chemicals. This appears to be the same character from an earlier teaser, and if you look closely, you can see that one of the containers is methylamine. I don't know anything about making crystal meth, but as someone who watched Breaking Bad, I imagine that being there means that this is related to a cook. Who is cooking and why are good questions that I don't have an answer to. This all seems a little unrelated to what's happening at the moment, so I'm curious to see how this fits in. I mentioned earlier how I thought that Bob Odenkirk was playing this a little bit more like Saul, and we see several examples of this in the teaser. We hear him say open for business and opening the door for a customer at his new strip mall office location. We see him get a call on his signature Bluetooth earpiece saying sounds like money, okay great. And in all of this you can see his enjoyment of playing this part. It's really clear. Even from the little bit we see here, you can see that he's lit up from these new developments. We also see Francesca banging on the door of her future place of employment. There's a handwritten sign on the door that reads Saul Goodman and Associates. It looks like she's looking for a job, and when she goes inside, she learns that it's actually working for her old boss, Jimmy McGill, who is now going by Saul. He's getting his office ready to go. There was a shot in a different teaser where he said that the name Saul Goodman was to the law like the name Colonel Sanders was to chicken. That all seems to be from this same interaction. And then there's just one other shot of Kim lighting a cigarette in the apartment. This and the one in the beginning, and the only 2 promo photos they put out this week, all appear to be related to a couple of shots we haven't seen yet from earlier teasers. In one, she says, "You know what's coming next." And in the other, she makes a punching motion and says, "I'm Saul Goodman, I fight for you." So not much more to say about this. I mean, we see Jimmy having a good time out in the world being Saul, and then things looking pretty heavy behind closed doors. Perhaps it's Lalo, perhaps it's the stress of whatever they're trying to pull off. Either way, I can't wait to find out. And to find out if this is going to be the boxing gym episode, is this going to be the episode where we see Lalo, what he's up to? And to bring it back around to the beginning, I've been thinking that Howard figuring out that Jimmy is behind what they're doing is all part of the plan. It just seems obvious that he would be the most likely suspect considering the circumstances, and I think these characters are smart enough to factor that into their plans. Considering I don't think Kim sticks around, something has to go wrong, and that's where things will get interesting. One popular theory that I keep seeing come up is that Howard will commit suicide as a result of what they're doing, and I'm not sold on this idea. I don't think there needs to be an explanation as to where Howard is during Breaking Bad. There's not much overlap between the world of HHM and Walter White, so I'm not sure he needs such a dramatic conclusion. That said, the idea seems to be popular, and it's something to consider. In my mind, there are plenty of ways that things can go sour for Kim and Jimmy, even if they're successful, and Howard wouldn't need to be a casualty for it to hit hard when this thing they've got going comes to an end. And I think that's a good place to leave this video, so let me know in the comments what you're hoping to see, what you're hoping to find out, and where you think things are going. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It looks like we'll be doing the live stream discussion every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. now, so I wanted to make that announcement. And thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.